From the world's leading center for finance, the arts, publishing, science, research, media, innovation, and much more. This is Metro Focus with Rafael P. Roman.
One of Mayor Bill de Blasio's biggest campaign promises is more affordable housing in the city, a lot more. The mayor is also planning to revamp public housing projects and homeless shelters. But for the chronically homeless, what's needed often goes beyond just shelter. Producer Marissa Wong reports now from the Bronx on what's called supportive housing. It's an idea that got started in New York in the 1990s and may be more than just a housing solution.
They colored it green a little.
Samantha Abarzoa loves to draw. She has a pet turtle, and her room is filled with pink horses. It seems ordinary enough for a 9-year-old, until you see where Samantha and her parents spent the first few years of her life.
She calls it the ugly house. There was so many mice, and I was scared for her because they would come right on the bed. Yeah, it was horrible.
In 2005, Samantha's mother, Anne Marie Wallace, was pregnant, in treatment for drug addiction, and suddenly homeless. She and her husband Carlos bounced between homeless shelters and short-term housing for years. It was all temporary. They kept falling back on old habits, and it seemed like they were stuck in the system.
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. And, my husband kept saying, oh, it's going to be all right. We're going to get through it.
Then, a New York City shelter worker told the family about a different option. Affordable housing with built-in support services called, simply enough, supportive housing. Wallace applied, and instead of a temporary shelter, they suddenly had a permanent place to call home, Fox Point Palladia in the Bronx.
Honestly, I thought everything happens for a reason. We got out of one place, but we went into somewhere better. Maybe this was for me.
Here, chronically homeless families with a history of substance abuse live alongside low-income families who qualify for government-subsidized housing.
What we might take for granted is something that is foreign to them when they first move in. Getting their children up to school, following that routine, cleaning their apartment. I think some families, they're just excited to have their own stove.
Emily Wyman oversees the supportive part of the equation at Fox Point. On-site counselors for drug addiction, health care, and job assistance. Guidance which is new to many tenants.
I didn't know that you can get your GED in college. There was a worker here, Gail. So she told me about it, and she took me on tours, and she started the process.
But there's a catch. Supportive housing is expensive. While residents pay 30% of their income towards rent, many rely on public assistance or Social Security benefits, and the buildings themselves cost millions of dollars to construct or renovate. One of the city's largest supportive housing organizations, the nonprofit Common Ground, turned this former welfare hotel into housing for homeless and low-income residents. Executive Director Brenda Rosen says long-term savings outweigh those costs.
The typical person that you walk by on the street is costing the city and the state and the federal government roughly $56,000 a year. To come into a building like this and have an apartment with a key costs roughly $24,000 a year.
The social and medical services available here are also part of the argument for building more supportive housing.
The people that we work with on the streets that are dealing with mental health issues and medical issues and substance abuse issues are those folks that are using public resources in a very large way. So these crisis services that they use, EMS, emergency rooms, psychiatric hospitals, jails, these cost a lot of money.
Back in the Bronx, Anne Marie Wallace says she's clean and sober and on her way to completing a bachelor's degree in health services.
I went to school so I can depend on me. My kids could depend on me. And I show my kids, to have a better life, to go to school and get their education because it's really important.
The ultimate goal, I think, for us is that we break the cycle of homelessness, that we work so closely with the families and the children especially that we see the children graduate from high school. We see the children going on to college.
Like any low-income housing, once accepted, supportive housing residents can stay as long as they pay their share of the rent. Because most stay put and the demand keeps growing, it's now up to the city and the state to decide what to invest to make room for more families like Anne Marie Wallace's. In the Bronx, I'm Marissa Wong for Metro Focus.